As with all yoga poses, there are many variations and ways to teach Bhujangasana Cobra pose. So today I'll just show you a few of the ways that I like to practice this posture. So begin on hands and knees. You can also easily transition from this pose, from downward dog into this pose. But from hands and knees, flatten the tops of the feet. Draw the shoulders forward, keep the elbows hugged in, and keep the tailbone drawn toward your heels, shoulders away from the ears as you lower onto your belly. You can rest the chin on the floor. And from here, the hands are beneath the shoulders, back just slightly from the tops of the shoulders. And again, the chin is resting on the floor. Elbows are drawn toward the sky so that they're pointing up toward the ceiling. Frequently in this pose, people will practice accidentally splaying the elbows out to the side. So it's important to draw the elbows in toward the body. At first, let's allow the feet to be hip wide apart. And it's beneficial also to lift the leg and extend it long behind you as though someone's pulling your leg back, and then rest on the floor. Doing the same thing with both sides so that the legs are equal. From here, pay attention to the pubic bone, so the pubic plate at the base of the pelvic floor. And see that you're drawing the pubic bone down into the earth here. And if you watch the curve of my low back, pubic bone is off of the floor here, and I'm actively drawing the pubic bone down to root into the floor. This removes the curve slightly from my low back to protect the spine as I come into the back bend, creating space between the bones of the spine so we're not pinching anything here. In Bhujangasana, we're hoping to get an extension, a length, the back bend in the upper spine, and de-emphasize the already mobile lower back, thereby protecting the lower back. So here we're drawing the pubic bone into the floor, chin is still on the floor, elbows point toward the sky, inner thighs lifting up toward the ceiling. I lift the kneecaps as well to engage the quadricep muscles. Inhale, draw the shoulders up first, so shoulder blades drawn up toward the ceiling, and then sending the shoulder blades back toward the elbows and the elbows back toward the heels. Pubic bone rooted as you inhale to lift up. And when we first practice this pose, breathing here, I like to strengthen by lifting the hands off the floor, engaging the muscles of the trunk. Drawing the pubic bone down into the floor, lifting the inner knees, inner thighs, inhaling up and exhaling down. And you can try a few of these rounds with breath, moving mindfully, taking a rest if you need to. And then to rest, you can lay one cheekbone onto the floor and allow the hands to come to the sides. Even shake out any sensation in the back. There should never be pain in the back. If there's pain in the low back here, root the pubic bone more strongly into the floor and just don't come up quite so high. Okay, so yoga is about systematically building strength, stability, and balance over time. And many of us don't have the strength to just pop into the full pose right away. But with consistent practice, you'll get there. Let's try another version where this time we tuck the toes under in this pose. From here, chin rests on the floor, hands come beneath the shoulders, elbows toward the sky, and lift at the kneecaps so that the knees are off the floor. This engages the quadricep muscles to help create a stable foundation for the pose. Draw the inner knees up, pubic bone down into the earth. On an inhale, shoulders lead first away from the ears, keeping the pubic bone down, coming up here. Exhale, shoulders back and down. Inhale, lift the heart, draw the sternum forward, almost as though you're pulling the mat back with the hands to create length in the spine, length in the neck. We're not looking up here because you see how it crunches the back of the neck. So keeping a neutral neck alignment, keeping the inner thighs lifted, pubic bone down, breathing here. Expanding the breath in the side ribs, the lungs, the back ribs. And exhale, re-emphasizing the rooting of the pubic bone to protect the low back. On an exhale, lower down, and you can untuck the toes, rest the arms, and rest the opposite cheekbone onto the floor. Take a few deep breaths here into your low back. Breathing so deeply that the low back comes off of the floor. If you choose, if those two versions felt very doable for your body, you don't feel fatigued, you weren't shaking during the pose, you can try the pose bringing the base of the big toes to touch, the inner ankles to touch, the inner knees to touch. Root your pinky toes down into the earth. Draw the inner thighs up. We're still engaging the quadriceps by lifting the knees, but the toes are resting on the floor here. On an inhale, shoulders, elbows, lift, rooting the pubic bone down. You notice that it's a little more challenging to keep the pubic bone rooted when the feet are not hip wide apart. Long front body, long low back. And exhale to rest. A nice counter pose for Bhujangasana is to come back through hands and knees, widen your knees, and sink back and down for Balasana, child's pose, as it does the opposite movement on the spine, lengthening the low back. Breathe into your back body. So that was Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Namaste.